In this session, we'll be introducing a new script which allows people to assign the quantities from the model elements to resource units. So if you're not familiar with resource plan units or budgeted units, let me just go through traditionally how people assign resources to tasks. Okay, so traditionally in other scheduling software, people will add resources such as concrete, or things like formwork, okay, or like rebar, for example. So I'm only using material resources as an example. So traditionally, people will assign, for example, concrete and formwork to this task, drag and drop. And then when I select this task and then go to the resources tab, I can tell if concrete and formwork has been assigned to those. Okay, that's how you assign resources to tasks without having the model. So that's a very traditional way of assigning resources to the tasks. In addition to that, you may be wondering, how much concrete would I need for this particular task? That's when we introduce resource plan units. So when I select this task and then also select concrete in there, so I will be able to assign plan units, which is called budgeted units, in other program in here. Because by default, when I assign a resource to a task, by default, the quantity or the units is 1. Okay, for formwork, it's the same idea. Okay, so you may think this way. So let me remove the resources that I don't need right now. So right now, what if I assign, so right now I am going to assign this concrete, which is a non-3D resource, to all of my tasks. Right click and assign selected resources, right? Okay, let's just double check. And then for this first task, concrete is there. For this task, concrete is there. For this task, concrete has been assigned there. So for all of them, you can see if I select concrete, the plan units for that resource, for the concrete resource, is only 1. For this one, the concrete resource is actually 1 as well. Okay, in our case, that's not really the case. In my example, so for this install piles activity, right? So I would rather my concrete volume to be concrete plant units to be 213, which is something that we did in a previous session. So for this particular task, another example, instead of saying that plant units is 1, I want this 522 number to be moved to here, okay, so that it's kind of real and it's my real amount of concrete that will be required for this particular task. Is there a way that I can quickly do that? So the answer is yes, right? So right now I'm going to select all these tasks, and then I'll also have the concrete resource selected. I'll go to the Synchro script ribbon, Synchro under project controls ribbon, choose Synchro script, and then I'll browse to that script that you can find in this sessions folder, which is called set resource plan units. Okay, so this particular script will allow you to work on the selected task and then also the task assignments. When Synchro finds that when there is a concrete resource assigned to those selected tasks, Synchro will set the plan units for the concrete resource to be equal to the total volume, which is a task user field for that particular task. So it's pretty much moving the 213 number from here to somewhere there. Okay, you know what I mean? And then after that, I can hit preview and then take a look at it. Okay, so this is kind of, what I'm expecting to see. After I hit run, you can see the status is modified. Okay, after that, I can hit close. Yes, let's double check. Right now, if I go to this particular task, install piles, and if I look at the assigned resource, which is concrete right here, you can see my plan units is now 213. Okay, in addition, let's spot check another task. For this one, my concrete plant units 131. Yeah, cubic meter. Okay, so what does that tell me, right? So, okay, so it tells me two things, several things actually. So right now my concrete resource has been assigned to multiple tasks. And then my tasks all have start and finish days. This pretty much tells me that I can have a projection of my concrete quantities distributed over time. So right now if I go back to the project controls ribbon and then click resource usage graph, I will be able to see the plan utilization plan units for all of my resources. So I can also set that to selected resources, so I'm only seeing the plan utilization for my concrete. So if I go to options, I can set my data to my graph to be plotted based on all of my tasks, which is what I want it to be right now, or some selected tasks or filtered tasks. Okay, so for the kind of the look of the data, I can say, do I want to compare resource or do I want to stack resource and all that. Okay, so normally I choose stack resources. Okay, so I can also choose show legend and then hit OK, and then the legend will be there. Okay, so furthermore, if I go back to options, go to histogram. So what I really wanted to see is unit distributed over time. Okay, instead of like a percentage number. Okay, so and then you can adjust the time scale based on what you need. So distributing everything by day is probably not what I need, when I create a baseline. So probably by month or by week, in my case, will be more interesting to see. Okay. If I go back to options again, going back to curve. Okay. So yes. So for the curve, which is this one, again, the percentage is probably not something I'm interested to see. You may want to set it to units, which is cumulative. Okay, and hit OK. Okay, so it's very similar to this one. Okay, you can of course have multiple resources assigned to those tasks, but eventually what I'm trying to get is that you can assign those quantities assign those resource units quickly. In the past, people tend to key in those numbers one by one, but in our case, we actually got those numbers from the model and then we run a script and then quickly assign the plan units. Okay, so in addition to this resource usage graph, and then I want to introduce also the resource usage spreadsheet, which can be found right here. You can also adjust based on adjust the columns based on what you want to see. After the tasks are actualized, you can key in the actual units, remaining units, and all that. Okay, so if you right click here, you will be able to customize the fields, the columns that you want to see. You will be able to edit the time scale to set the start and the end date. You will be able to say, okay, so I don't want to see the quantities distributed by week, and then I wanted to see like distributed by day. You can do that. In addition, which is something important that you need to know, of course, you can select all of them. You can select a lot of things like this, and then copy text. If you want the entire spreadsheet to be exported to Excel, you can do that as well. And then you can just save it somewhere on your computer. And then if you want to plot a nicer graph, you can use Excel to do that. Okay, so yes, that's the resource usage spreadsheet. Of course, right now, since my resource is assigned to the task, all I have the quantities, units. What if you can say, okay, what if right now I'm interested to see some cost curve, right? So in Synchro, you can quickly pull up the cost and cost type column for the resources. I'm just going to use concrete as an example and then introduce another graph. So for example, my cost for this concrete resource will be $500. Okay, and then that's based on unit, okay, per unit, right? So in our case, since this is the unit price for concrete, and then for this particular task, we can see, since I have this amount of concrete assigned to it, if I go to the cost total tab for that selected task, you can see my amount that my cost, my unit cost is 500, and then I have this amount of concrete, and then my total will be this one, right? Similarly, such information can be displayed in my Gantt chart as well. So you'll be looking for the keyword cost again. So let's bring up budgeted direct cost and then budgeted total cost, which is right here. Okay. Yes, you can see although Synchro doesn't really break down the material, labor, and equipment costs in separate columns, but the total is displayed in the budgeted total cost column right here. In addition, budgeted direct cost is something else, which is a direct cost to the task. So for example, if I key in 10,000 right here, you can see this number gets up to 116,000-ish, right? That's because this is a direct cost, not related to resources. So budgeted total cost in summary is a sum of all resources cost plus the budgeted direct cost. Okay, so this is pretty much this session. Okay, you can try it out. Yeah, don't forget about this earn value graph. After we have some cost information in here, you should be able to see an S curve, which is called EVA graph in Synchro. So for what I need to do is that I need to select all of the tasks that I want Synchro to plot the graph. Okay, once you have the red color is the current value, right? And then you will have also after there are tasks that are actualized, you have the actual cost. If you have a baseline created, you will have a baseline cost as well. And then the other light, the gray color will be your earn value, which is not showing right now. But this should get you started on the cost and the resource units, resource usage graph.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.